Welcome to the Clearly Christian Podcast with Dr. Cy Smith. It's time to know more so you can say no more. It's time for the Clearly Christian Podcast. Here's your host, Dr. Cy Smith.
I'm Dr. Cy Smith, and this is Clearly Christian, a podcast about what it means to see the world from God's perspective and the impact this has for training the next generation to live a life consistent with the biblical worldview. If you like the show you've been listening, I hope you'll hit the subscribe button or leave a review. That'll let others know the show's worth checking out, help us spread the word, and serve our mission to make a difference. So again, thank you for being here, and thank you for helping us spread the word. Today's extra credit version of the Clearly Christian Podcast is a deeper dive into the chalkboard points from our recent conversation with Mr. Josh Davis, who's a math and STEM teacher here at Mansfield Christian School. We talked about children's natural curiosity and how we must cultivate that curiosity to lead them to a biblical worldview. So now for some further thoughts and questions, let's bring in our producer, Brian Lefelock. So Brian, what'd you think of the show, and what can we talk about a little further today?
I loved the show, and I loved the focus on younger children and their curiosity and their natural curiosity, and I was most impressed. Maybe you can talk about it very quickly. Josh Davis has a natural excitement and almost a childlike sense of wonder about him, and that might be evident of many of your teachers, but it's not with all teachers everywhere. He's kind of special, isn't he?
Yeah, he does a great job, great passion for the subject, and when you get somebody, like he said, from his background to say, hey, I was in the hospitality industry, I was working with adults, and then to say, I've got a lot of real-world experience, and to take that into the classroom, you know, he wasn't like 22, 23 years old right out of college going, boy, I hope this teaching education degree really works. No, he had a chance to see life and said, you know what I think I'd love to do and I'm passionate about is working with children. And sometimes those people who come to education like that at that age make a really unique skill set, or bring a unique skill set into the classroom, make for a real unique teacher. So we appreciate him and his voice down in the elementary.
I love it when teachers can keep their passion. I just think it's an amazing gift that they have and that they then share with their students. And you can see it with him. So tell me a little bit, natural curiosity. We talked about that a lot in the show. It's a gift from God, and yet sometimes it feels like it's stronger in younger children. Or is that just me being the old guy that's kind of jaded with things?
No, I think it is stronger in younger children because, like I said, there's such power in novelty. In other words, power in learning something for the first time. And it happens to us as adults. I think we're jaded if we don't think that's the case. Just look at any guy who's ever studied the product manual of something they just bought, right? I mean, whether it's a lawnmower or a grill or something like that, they're like, yeah, I kind of need to know how this thing's going to work. So for the first time, I'm going to find myself reading this manual and figuring this out because I need to know why. And when you learn something for the first time and it starts that scaffolding in the brain, it's an incredibly, how it sticks long-term memory. I mean, sometimes we're surprised even as adults how much we can recall from our youth. And why did that stick with us? Because it's the very first time we learned it. It's a powerful, powerful memory. And so you are way more naturally curious as a young person. And let's just, for the sheer fact of obviously your age, there's so much more to learn about life. And that's what's great about being a teacher in the elementary is you literally are introducing them to things for the very first time. And even in our technology-rich society, where we think, oh, we can get a 2-year-old to know math and to read and this, that, and the other. It's still, when you get them in a classroom, it's a different ball game, and you can walk them through that got it moment or aha moment and see that light bulb come on where they connect that dots and the scaffolding is being built. It's incredible.
So let's talk about that real quick. You guys talked about that in the show, and I was really interested in producing it, that aha moment. I remember that as a kid, but I don't remember it tied with a biblical perspective. I didn't go to a Christian school. I remember understanding geometry. Oh, and that was so cool. But it's just got to be amazing when you tie that to the idea that, oh, this is from God. What's that like? You've seen that, haven't you?
Oh, it's awesome because to us, and we think it should be natural. It's the logical next step, right? It's the why to the what, right? Because any school can say what, and any school can have that aha moment with kids. We so get it, like you said. Every school should have that, right? And it's great, no matter what school you're at. You had it, it's awesome. But then guess what happens over time? The child says, okay, I get it, but why do I need to know it? and I get it, but I don't really care about it. I don't, what's it matter in life? When am I ever going to use this? Why is this significant? Why does it matter? And that is a very natural course as well. And that's where the biblical worldview comes in. Because like I said, all truth is God's truth. So if it's true and it's a what, that's a fact, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Because ultimately, the only thing that matters in you as a human and your relationship with the Creator, that's the bigger picture of life. So why did he make this so? Well, let's look at what God intended this to do for us as humans, or why is this the way it is? I mean, it's his story. We talk all that time. This is a biblical worldview. It's God's story. Life's not about us, right? I mean, life's not about me. It's about him. We're just players in God's story. Creation, fall, redemption, restoration. 4 chapters. We just get to be players in his story. So why'd he want us to know this? Well, he wants us to know this for a reason. Math, science, history, all these things reveal a little bit more about who he is, his nature, his character, what he had designed from the very beginning. Some of it's complicated, some of it's not. But man, the kids go, oh yeah, it's probably good I know this then. Yep, because God wants me to know this for a reason. This is really going to help someone someday. And it's going to be an important building block for the future. Right? I mean, I'm going to need to know how to do math because someday it may save someone's life. And life is the most precious thing that God created. And you say, how in the world is that going to be? Well, like I said in the podcast, math saved John Glenn's life, and now he's a global hero because mathematicians figured out how to get him back safely to Earth.
Is this accurate? Science and math aren't the truth. They're tools to discover the truth. We get that confused, don't we?
Yes, exactly, right? The truth is already there. God's already got it there. He says, there's a lot of truth in where I put, in science, I put the sun exactly where it needed to be so that you humans don't burn up. And yet you can't get too cold. And so, and all these other planets orbit the way they do because it has to be that way with gravitational pull and life's existence and blah, blah, blah. And he said, there's all these truths that I'm anxious for you to discover because I gave you a mind like mine, and I gave you the ability to think and to reason, and you'll never beat me, but I gave you the capacity to understand and really appreciate the genius that is God's. I mean, it's so far beyond us. I'm doing it an injustice to even attempt to explain it.
So the conversation during the podcast was about natural curiosity, and we as adults or as teachers like to pave our roads for our kids so that they don't mess up, they don't screw up, everything gets done properly. We talked in the podcast about space to fail, and I know we're always trying to get the A and get the scholarship and be number one. How do we allow kids to be curious and to fail? How do we give them that space to fail?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really has to start early. And you have to have patience as a parent because you're right. Grades matter, test scores matter, and unfortunately they matter earlier than ever before, right? We've got 3rd grade reading guarantee, and you can't go into 4th grade if you can't read by 3rd grade. And so the stakes for testing are getting more and more and more. And sometimes that's okay because we want benchmarks and things, and we get that. And we need to grade schools in some respects. We want to know who's effective and who's not. So I understand all that, but it doesn't mean that that's more important than the actual learning process itself, which relies heavily on curiosity and what Josh said, the ability to make mistakes and fail. And so again, if I can work through something, it's like us adults. We say, man, I built that on my own. I figured it out. Or the average non-handyman who says, I put the grill together myself. I did it. I wasn't sure I could do it, but I put all this together. Or I fixed the lawnmower. Or I did something that's beyond me. And you're proud of yourself because you weren't sure what to do, but you deduced something. If this, then that. If this, then that. And so you made some conclusion. Oh man, I figured it out. And you're proud of yourself for doing it. Kids are the exact same way. And man, when they figure something out, it excites them. And guess what? They want to keep on. They want to know more and know more and know more. And guess what? Just to think bigger picture, this is how we're going to cure cancer. Because at some point, hopefully, Lord willing, I think we will. We're going to figure this out. Why? Because we will not give up. Our curiosity will drive us and drive us and drive us until we say, there's got to be a cure for this disease. We're closer than we were last year. and the year before that, and the year before that. And when bad things happen, we want to figure out, because it's the right thing to do, bad things happen to good people. That's the result of sin in the world, right? It's diseases, it's breakdowns, things like that. These things weren't what God had planned. He didn't plan that for humans, but sin corrupted everything. That's why everything breaks down. That's why we have cancer. That's why we have all these problems. So our job is to help to redeem that culture and say, this is not what God intended. Let's figure this out. We're going to cure this disease, doggone it, if it kills us. Let's stay after it, right? That's the surgeon who stands over a person for 10, 11, 12 hours straight on a complicated surgery until they get it right. Incredible, incredible what the mind can do with that curious nature.
And to segue from that into my final question and go back to kind of the beginning, and we talked about the idea of younger people having this natural curiosity that's unbridled, and as we get older, we start to quelch down a little bit. How can, you're around these kids every day, do they inspire you? How can an adult, an old codger like me, learn to expand, to cure cancer, that there are big dreams available? How can we learn from these kids and their natural curiosity that they just obviously have?
Yeah, well, you said it a little bit earlier. Remembering what it was like when you were a kid, right? And remembering how exciting life was before you grew up and had all the answers, which now you know as an adult, that's not true at all. Sometimes you grow up and have more questions than you did as a kid. But staying in touch with that, at least that younger mindset to say, yeah, you know, when I was trying to figure things out, that was pretty exciting. And that was a good spot to be in. And not just assuming because I'm older, I've got all the answers and I've got it figured out, because the reality is we don't. And we're, you know, people who get the most out of life are those people who just never stop asking questions. They never stop learning. I mean, there's really great power in being an adult learner, people who just never give up on that. I mean, and leaders are readers. I mean, it's a cliche, but adults who have learned to keep reading and have learned to keep looking into things for more answers, boy, it's powerful what you continue to learn even throughout your life. And many, many great things have happened in our society by very mature adults who didn't turn their brain off and didn't check it at the door. So keep that curiosity going even when you're an adult. Well, great questions, Brian. And thank you again for joining me today on the Clearly Christian podcast. And I trust that now you know more about the importance of using our children's natural curiosity to point them to biblical truth and a worldview that sees all of life from God's perspective. Again, if you like the show, let us know by following or subscribing. Hit the like button for me. Again, let others know the show's worth checking out. Makes a difference. I'd certainly appreciate that. Remember, the only way to turn things around in our country is to increase the number of people who hold the biblical worldview and live that out every day. The greatest hope we have to get there is Christian education. I'm Dr. Smith, and this has been Clearly Christian.
Thank you for listening to the Clearly Christian podcast with Dr. Cy Smith. Hear more episodes at clearlychristianeducation.com. If you'd like more information about Christian education in your neighborhood, or if you're interested in education opportunities at Mansfield Christian School, or if you agree with Dr. Smith and want to help him in his mission to influence and awaken Christian America, you can send Dr. Smith an email through the clearlychristianeducation.com website. Message him on the Clearly Christian LinkedIn or Facebook page, or call the Clearly Christian Connection line at 419-756-5651. This has been the Clearly Christian Podcast with Dr. Cy Smith on clearlychristianeducation.com, brought to you in conjunction with Mansfield Christian School, a Bryan Media production.